Yeah, so hi, my name is Joy Wood. I am born and bred in Auckland from the North Shore. My dad is Chinese but was born in Taiwan. My mum is Chinese but was born in South Korea. And then they moved here like 30 or so years ago. And yeah, I've been here since. Grew up in North Shore, went to local primary school and then went to Kingsway. And then from there I went to AUT and studied a Bachelor's of Communications and a Bachelor's of Business.
About this.
Yeah, so I was actually overseas last year, and then because of COVID decided to come back home, and when I was like in quarantine and stuff, I was looking at all the different roles out there. My past has been a lot of working in advertising agencies and like marketing roles, experiential event-based stuff, but there was something about sports that kind of was really interesting, something that I haven't really done much of before. Definitely haven't played much sport like a lot of people who work in sport, but it had a lot of the values that I was looking for, and it just seemed really exciting.
So what about currently?
Yeah, so I'm the marketing and partnerships coordinator at New Zealand Football. I think the thing that I like the most is how much variety there is. Like some days I'll be at an event packing in, some days I'll be creating like pamphlets, brochures, presentations, or we'll be doing some really hands-on stuff with our sponsors. So it's never the same.
So because you're
Yeah, I mean, I think football is very niche, and sometimes there's a lot of stuff that someone from the outside you don't know once you go in, and that's like with any organisation. But for example, an example that I have is when we're creating badges for team shirts, from like having a new sponsor and you create a badge that goes on all of the teams, is like knowing how many players are on each team, and you have 23, but for someone who has never played football before, you don't really know that you need to get 23 printed for each team. So just like little things like that have been minor adjustments that I've had to make. Yeah.
What are some wins you've taken?
Some wins. So we had our ISPS Honda Men's Premiership Finals a couple weekends ago, and I think because I came in at the beginning of that competition and to see it wrap up, being able to go through that whole journey was really cool, and see it come to life.
So
no one knows everything. You just have to reach out to people when you have questions, and I think that's the thing about New Zealand Football that has really been helpful and really beneficial to me, is that the people there, they have so much knowledge, you just have to ask and they're always willing to help. Yeah. I think the thing that I really love and motivates me about my role is that I get to see impact on the community. In the past, working in more corporate roles, it's really kind of all about just like sales numbers and growth, whereas here, while you still measure with numbers, but it's these kids who are playing football, or kids who have never played football before, or people who may have retired but are now playing socially, and just kind of getting to see people gain something from what I do is really, really impactful.
So correct me if
Yeah, like I was definitely an orchestra kid growing up, and I think it's all about community. Like, people in life all need community and need friends, and I think that's what sport provides to them. And no matter what activity it is, what hobby it is, it's just nice to be able to provide and give people access to that.
simply
I think it's just a place where people can go and hang out with other people, meet new people, and do something together they enjoy.
It's for you.
Yeah. It's really interesting because the North Shore has such a high Asian population. Primary school and stuff, I had a like all my friends were Asian. But then once I went to like intermediate in college, because of the school I went to, it was predominantly white, and then there it was a little bit more interesting, a lot of South Africans, a lot of Pakeha. So it's definitely, you notice that you're the odd one out. Like there was this one time where I brought like dumplings to school and everyone was like, oh, what are those? They smell weird. But then now like all my friends love getting dumplings and we go to Dominion Road all the time. So it's just, yeah, I think people are still getting used to Asian culture. My sisters who are like a little bit older than me, when they first moved to New Zealand when they were young, like they brought sushi to school and everyone was like, what the heck is that? But now there's sushi everywhere you go. Yeah, I think there's still lots of stereotypes as to, you know, the Asian pathway and what you can and can't do. For my parents, for my family, they weren't too strict. They never made me I didn't take any sciences or many like maths. So there's that, but I definitely had to participate in a lot of music. That was me. But I don't know, like I found it, there weren't many instances where I felt like I was disadvantaged, which is fine, but I also felt like I never fit in 100% with all of my peers. Yeah.
So the flip.
Yeah. New Zealand, Auckland in particular, so ethnically diverse. A lot of our players aren't from here, they're from other countries, Asia, Europe, you know, everywhere. And, you know, New Zealand is home to a lot of people, and I think it's just being considerate and having an open mind is really important, and just knowing that some people have family that especially now in COVID, you know, like a lot of their families are overseas, they can't see them, yeah, just being human.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I haven't really experienced a lot of yet in my role, but something in sport, I think across all codes, is how do we get all communities in New Zealand involved? Some sports lean towards certain different, you know, genders, stereotypes, but I think across all of the codes, we want sport to be accessible to all. So when we're creating, you know, marketing or campaigns and stuff like that, it's how do we make this attractive to all your different age groups, all your different ethnicities and communities across New Zealand.
How have you guys done that so far?
Yeah, so I think it's all about representation. So if you are creating a material, you can't just have all males or all teenagers or all, you know, Samoans. You have to have a mix of what's actually in the community. So being really conscious about, you know, representing with all ethnicities and even abilities as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think Asian families, no matter what, or immigrant families, you work really, really hard. You have a certain expectation that you have to follow, and like, you know, you hear stories of parents who, you know, give up so much to move to a place where they don't know the language, and it's very inspiring for me, and it's something that I hope that I can like fill those shoes one day. I think it makes you more aware of like culture and how that builds people, and just little things that Kiwis might do that other cultures might not, and just how different cultures work as well. Like New Zealanders are slightly more relaxed, but there's also, you know, tall poppy syndrome. Don't know if you've heard much about it. Just being very aware. So at home we all speak Chinese, so that's something that keeps me grounded with my roots. My mum's cooking is really, really great. But I think it's just my family keeps me rooted in my heritage, and it's something that I'd like to learn more about as well, because in my family and some Asian families, you don't talk a lot about, you know, the past and a lot of history, so that's something I want to definitely talk about more.
Yeah, I definitely relate. Figuring that out.
Yeah, I think like when I was deciding what to study at uni, that was quite like a big like point in the road where that was kind of like the first not struggle but first barrier, where I always thought I was going to go to Auckland Uni, but instead I actually found a really cool course. I really wanted to AUT, and because Auckland Uni's higher ranked, traditionally all the parents are like, why would you go to AUT when you can go to Auckland Uni? And then I had to talk to my parents and really discuss as to why, and Auckland offer this course, and they were really supportive behind that. But then all the other like Asian parents and like family friends would be like, why are you going there? And so blah. But yeah, I mean, they're very traditional and conservative, but also are aware that New Zealand is very different to the environment that they grew up in. Yeah.
Why are you doing this and that?
I think it really comes down to like how they raised me as well. It's like, if I know what I want, then obviously I'll go for it, and I could see the pathway that it could provide me and the opportunities. So then I was able to block all of the other comments, and not negativity, it's more like concern, maybe like an unhealthy concern from other people. But that's how I tackled that.
Right. So
you can't, like, growing pains come with growth, so every challenge, every barrier is really there for you to overcome, and sometimes you can't do it by yourself. You have to have your community of people around you to help get over that. So I don't know, just for me personally, what that looks like is I'm like a very verbal processor, so if something were to come up, I talk to my parents, I talk to my friends, I talk to people at work, and it's often at the time it seems really, really tough, but it's only when you look back and you're like a few months later down the track and you're like, whoa, I actually did that. That was a really, really hard time in my life, but look at where I am now.
If you go through to get to where you are today.
Yeah. So at the end of uni, actually like 2 years before I graduated, so halfway through my uni life, there was this really cool program by AUT called AUT Interns, and that was like my goal. I wanted to be on the program to go overseas and work overseas, and I tried so hard and I got it in the end, and I was like, thank goodness, like all the years of hard work paid off. And then when I got to America, everything was great, and then obviously COVID happened. I was still able to work, but I wasn't able to have the same experience that I had planned for and worked, I guess, so hard for. And then that decision of having to come back home because I didn't want to seem like, I was giving up, or there was still like a future there for me somewhat, but I knew it would be better if I came home. That decision was really difficult to make because I didn't want to seem like I was giving up, or that I wasn't, strong, committed enough to see it all through. And then coming back was really difficult because, your friends are still in the same group, but you've changed a lot. Your perspective is different. You've had a whole new life experience that they weren't there for. And then finding a new job, finding a new career path and everything. But I'm just really lucky that, I have my role here now, and that I was able to have like a relatively smooth transition. But also it's like just mistakes that you make in your daily life as well, just like the tiny ones where, I don't know, like in one of my first jobs, I accidentally like CC'd everyone instead of BCC'd everyone, and then you do that once and you never you don't do that again. So I mean, that's also growth. It's just how you look at it.
So while going through this,
what is my why? I think my why is to be in community with people and to really help them and help myself at the same time grow to become better. I don't know if there's much else to say, but if in my role I'm helping people, I think I'm also helping myself. And then in my social life, if I'm hanging out with my friends and hopefully helping them, giving advice and helping them become better people, that is also fulfilling myself as well.
So for you,
I think that's also like a very Eastern perspective as well. Like a lot of Asian communities, it's all about like very multi-generational. You support your community, that kind of thing. So maybe that's how that's fed into my life so far. I think being like female and Asian, it's cool to be able to do things that inspire other female Asians to do. Like at school, I was like a student rep on the board, and I don't think that was like held by anyone Asian before. Like in a very like white school, I think a lot of the younger female Asians did look up to me in a way, and that's very motivating for me. And when I decided to take my role at New Zealand football, my sister, she said to me, like, you really should like take it, because you never see many Asian, if not even female people working in sport, and it's just awesome. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you?
doing this.
Yeah, I'm really proud of myself. Like something I don't feel like we give ourselves enough credit all the time. And yeah.
What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to me? I think it's very knowing that people also see the value in you and what you can achieve in your potential is really rewarding.
So,
yeah.
this game forever.
Well, it's so exciting to have the FIFA Women's World Cup in New Zealand, Australia in 2023. So that's just awesome to see. And now in preparation for that, how do we really communicate that to younger girls and teenagers, especially when like that 13, 14, 15 drop-off is quite common across all sports. So we just had our Girls and Women's Month for New Zealand football in the month of March, so tomorrow's the last day. And a lot of my role was organising these events across the federations and getting football firms or futsal firms to these events to kind of create workshops and just create a sense of and demonstrating to these girls that you can make a pathway through this. It not only is fun and enjoyable, but it takes you to great places, and provides that community.
Yeah, I think.
Probably like worry less. Things what often happens to me is like when you're in a situation, you think like this problem is like massive, when in reality it's actually only this big. And also you can only worry about things that are within your control. If it's outside of your control, like it's hard to actually like practice in reality, but try not to think about it because there's nothing you can do. I think it's just like, especially if you're still unsure of what you want to do in the future, it's just like try lots of different things. I think the most beneficial thing that I did during like my early uni days was like do lots of internships. I thought that was really helpful because you can try things and not like them, and then hey, I never want to do that